Hey guys, welcome back. Just a quick one this evening. I've been sent this optic by a friend of mine, and what I want to do is just a quick sort of initial impressions video on this, and then I'm going to compare it to this, which I also haven't used personally. I've used a variant of this one. This is the Gen 2 PST in 5 to 25 with the EBR2C reticle. Let me just check that. Yes, EBR2C. That's in mil, and then we have here the Athlon Argos BTR with the APMR reticle 6 to 24, so that's 4 times magnification versus 5 times from the Vortex, and this one retails for about 8,000 Rand, and this one's gonna go for about 19 something, so let's call that 20. And what I want to do is just run through the unboxings. I have not opened up this box before. This one, disclaimer, has come off the person that was using its rifle, and he's selling this, but before he gets rid of it, he just wants me to do a little comparison. So essentially what I'm trying to do with this video, obviously you can't compare an 8,000 Rand optic against a 20,000 Rand optic, because you kind of get what you pay for in this game. And from my side, I'm a firm believer if you're going to be spending a lot of money on a rifle, you want to put a quality optic on that. I'm not saying that this is not a quality optic. Today's video is just an initial impressions. And anyway, let's flip the camera up to the top, get a little bit of a top-down view. We'll run through the boxes. Keep in mind, this Athlon has been opened before. It has been on a rifle, so everything's not going to be brand spanking new inside that box. Once we've sort of unboxed them, we've got the optics out, I'm going to jump back to this view, and then I'm just going to give you a look and feel. I'm hoping to mount these up on a rifle and actually get to shoot both. Obviously this one is mine, so I'll keep this, and this will go on a rifle at some point. I'm just waiting for that new chassis from MDT to come in, but that should be this week, which is exciting. This one is for sale, as I said. There's a potential buy. If the deal doesn't go through tomorrow, I will have an opportunity to put this on a rifle and actually shoot it, and then compare both side to side, which I'm really hoping to do. Anyway, without further ado, why don't you guys join me on the top, and then we can get into the unboxing. Right, so let's have a look at both of these. Let's start with the Athlon first, and so this box opens up slightly differently. Let's put that guy over there. This box has sort of like a magnetic clasp. I don't know if you can see that. In fact, let me do it this way. So it's got like a little magnet in here somewhere. Anyway, once you flip that open, I think these are still the initial bags and stuff that came with. We have an Allen key in there and a little booklet. We have a little cleaning cloth here. Let's see if it's branded. Okay, nope, just the plain black cleaning cloth to keep your lenses clean. Both of these optics come with a 50mm objective lens, so in that regard they're pretty much the same. In terms of eye relief, the winner is going to be the Vortex on that one, but it's like literally it's almost nothing. It's basically identical. In terms of weight, these two are also pretty much the same weight. So here we're greeted with the rifle scope in its packaging, some rubber bands on. Let's get this out. So immediately what I'm noticing is we have a dust cover on the back, but nothing on the front. Okay, on the left side of the optic we have the parallax, which is quite stiff. This is one thing the video does not portray very well, is how much that requires to turn that. Quite audible clicks on the windage knob, and quite audible clicks on the elevation knob too, which is cool. Let's go all the way down, and okay, so it's got a similar zero stop system to the previous version of the PST, which is like a shim system, which does work well. So let's keep this in mind. We have 5 mils per revolution, and we have a nice revolution indicator on here too, which is pretty cool. As I said, the clicks are pretty audible, which I like. So what that's 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. You basically got 4 revolutions on this turret, and after that you run out of, so what, that's 20 moles. Let's go back there. In terms of magnification, this magnification is this ring is still pretty stiff, but I think that'll loosen up as you use it. This reticle is also illuminated, so that'll give you guys an idea of what this reticle looks like. The reticle is in the first focal plane. What that means is as this optic zooms, let's do that. So as I zoom this, the reticle gets magnified. It's quite difficult to do on camera. Okay, so now you can see a bigger picture of the reticle. So the reticle zooms as you go in and out. The reticle does not get bigger, it just zooms the reticle because the reticle is in that first focal plane. Okay, so that's pretty much my initial impressions on the BTR, or not, yeah, the Argos BTR. The focus is on the back of the eyepiece, which can be quite annoying when you have your dust cover on there. So keep that in mind. It is a nice dust cover though. It does. Ooh, that does not sound good. I don't know if the camera picks that up. That was super accidental that happened, but I'm tapping this. I tapped this to get it on, and I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds like there's a spring. I'm gonna hold this right next to the microphone so we can see if we can pick that up. Okay, this whole optic, as I'm doing that, I can feel this optic is still vibrating as I'm doing that. That'll concern the living daylights out of me. I can actually feel this whole system still moving in my hands. It's like a cell phone that vibrates. It's like there's movement in the system. Okay, so that's concerning. Right, let's put this guy, I'm not going to bother picking it up now. Let's put it one side and see what we get for another 10,000 Rand. Okay, so the Vortex box opens up slightly differently. Let's pop that over there. Whoops, that's my invoice. Put that away. We're greeted by, this is past the inspection. Remember, if you have any problems, no matter what the cause, we promise to take care of you. That's pretty cool. So yeah, that seems to be actual ink and not something that's printed. So that's a nice little touch. Cool Vortex stickers in there. Okay, we have dust caps for both ends, so I'm not going to bother opening this up just yet, but it's on that elastic system and it clicks over the whole optic. What we do have in this box that we don't have in the Athlon is a sunshade. I do believe you can buy a sunshade for this, so that's just an extra on there. And then we're greeted in a very much the same wrapping point of view, except what we have in Vortex, and this is sort of a way they've been doing stuff for a while, is sort of with these foam spacers, and then the optic is, whoops, and then the optic basically floats in the box. It's not really touching anything. Whereas this, it's lying on the foam, but I mean it's very well protected in this box too. This is quite a high quality foam that they've got in there. Okay, so let's get this guy out. Okay, so initial impressions. Let's actually get this guy back out and put it there if we want to reference stuff. So in terms of weight, off the bat this feels a little bit heavier. In terms of size, let's take this off to make it fair. So the Vortex is a little bit bigger. Keep in mind these basically weigh the same. The Vortex is 31.2 ounces in this configuration, and I believe the Athlon is 29.6 ounces in its current configuration, so very much the same. Immediately off the top in this view, let me bring us in a little bit Off the top view, what we can tell is this is something Vortex has been doing for a while, since the Gen 1 PSTs, is they have this little fiber optic line. So if you're looking just over your optic, you can see that you're on 0. And while you've been walking up the mountain, you haven't accidentally, like, it hasn't knocked your gear and turned the optic out of 0. And now all of a sudden you're taking a 100-meter shot, but you're actually zeroed for 200. So that's something that's pretty cool. And what I've used it for specifically in terms of competition shooting is setting up my rifle on target and using that sort of almost as a red dot to reference where I'm aiming at to quickly get on target. We're back out here. Same thing, this optic is illuminated. Now what's nice about the way that Vortex have done the illumination, there are two dials on here. So on the one side, we have illumination on the side of the parallax, which is pretty cool. Illumination is not something that I've used much. And then we have the parallax adjustment over here. Now this turns so much smoother than this version, which takes a lot more effort to turn. I mean, I'm pushing these that my fingers are going white. So yeah, that's basically frees up. So essentially what that's doing, by having the illumination built into the parallax focus, it's freeing up this section of the optic where the illumination is sitting. Now that might not seem like a very big deal, but if you're looking down your rifle scope and you're looking to see if to set your parallax and you're shooting with both eyes open to try and find your targets and manipulating stuff, to look into this bit of kit here does make a little bit of a difference. So just keep that in mind. It's a little bit of a marginal gain, but it does help. On the Vortex, let's see. Okay, so per revolution, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bear in mind we had 5 on this. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 moles per revolution, which is quite a lot. And on the Athlon, we only had 4, if I remember correctly. Okay, so let's see total moles on this. We're down at the bottom, and we hit a hard 0 stop. So you can actually hear that. So you can actually hear this hard 0 stop, which is cool, so you know you're at the bottom. Okay, so we go, that's 1 revolution, 10 moles, 2 revolution, 20 moles. So sort of 2.5, 24 moles worth of elevation in this turret, or usable elevation. Okay, so we're back down at the bottom because we've hit the hard 0 stop. Magnification wise on this, the magnification turns very smoothly. Standard stuff really from Vortex. The parallax we've got on here is infinity all the way down to 25 yards. On this one we have, the parallax seems to go that from 10 yards all the way out to infinity, which is cool. Again, with this one you get a little bit of a jingle. With this one, nothing. In fact, with this one, I feel so confident that I'm willing to do that with a brand new optic, I know nothing's going to happen to this. So just this, the difference is quite staggering actually, having these two together side by side. So just the finishes on this is amazing. The quality of the laser work that's gone into this optic and producing this is pretty special. And both of these optics are quite nice. This little cling thing is just super concerning for me. It's just how everything has been finished, where you can sort of start seeing the differences. So both of these are quite nice. From an aesthetic point of view, I quite like how this comes together very neatly at this joint here. In this section, yeah, I don't know, I've just quite like how that comes together. It's a little bit boxy for me, but this is not going to affect the function much at all. Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good overview on these two optics. This obviously you can obviously extend that with the sunshade, and that'll give you a little bit less mirage. So you almost got to factor that in, what it would cost to add the sunshade to this in terms of a total product offering. You've also got dust covers front and back versus just getting a dust cover on the back for this, unless the original owner lost that. So we'll have to confirm that. Then what else do we have in the box? We have a little Vortex branded cleaning cloth, and then we have the manual, which will be specific to the actual PST, and it comes with a battery and a little Allen key to power the optic. So rifle scope manual, where everything is, how to zero it, and then here we're gonna have the actual reticle manual, which is pretty cool. So here's just the EBR2C reticle and not all the different reticle options, and they've actually taken the time in here, as they have with this, with the Athlon. They have shown quite a bit of information in terms of the reticle. I just like that this is specific to the actual model that you've bought, and it's not a generic thing for a few reticles. Right, so we pretty much have that as a sort of unboxing comparison between the Gen 2 PST and the Argos BTR from Athlon. So I must look like a funny guy doing this, but when I shake this I can hear movement, and I can't hear anything when I shake that. And to me that's concerning from a rifle scope point of view. I hope the camera picked this up just now. In fact, let me take off this windsock and see if I can get this on camera better for you. Okay. Hello? Hello? Sorry, couldn't help myself. Okay, I've taken off this so that I can hopefully better capture this. Okay, so I noticed this as I was putting the dust cover back on, and I sort of gave this a little bit of a pop, and it made a sound. So I'm going to hold this up to the microphone and give that a light tap again. So that almost sounds like a spring that's moving in the system. So let's put this down and do the same with this. Like I was doing that much harder, and it didn't do anything. Still don't hear anything, so nothing's loose in there or in there. I mentioned in one of the groups I'm in that I was going to be putting this up against this, and I got told constantly that it's not comparing apples to apples, and by no means is this apples to apples. I mean, this is an 8,000 Rand optic versus a, let's call it a 20,000 Rand optic. I mean, this is basically in the same magnification range of a similar type of reticle, although I quite like how the EBR2C is laid out. But I'm a little bit biased towards that because I already shoot the EBR7B, which is in my Vortex AMG, and I love that, obviously. So this was way more intuitive to me. Yeah, what else is there to say? I mean, I've shot a PRS match, a multi-day PRS match with a 6,000 Rand. What was that called? It was called the Falcon. With the 6,000 Rand Falcon optic in first focal plane, and that it worked well. Other than the one malfunction I had on the whole stage, is I dialed to a 1,000 meter shot, and after I finished the stage, I hit the target, which was amazing, first shot. And after I got up and for the next stage, I wanted to dial my scope back, and as I dialed on the turret, it just went and made no click, so it slipped. So somehow it got loose, and the whole turret slipped, and I had to like sort of ballpark. Luckily I hadn't let go yet, so I had to like ballpark it back to where I thought it was, snugged everything back up, and then clean the next stage. So I must have snugged it back up to exactly where it was. But that was very lucky from my side. That could have ruined a 2-day shoot, which is a lot of money down the drain. I mean, I'm shooting at 14 Rand a shot, and on those type of shoots, we're doing about 200 rounds on a weekend. So that's a lot of money to be wasted over something silly like that. I'm not saying that that could happen, but that did happen to me with a sort of optic in the similar price range. But both of these are fine. Both of these will get you in the game to get started. So that basically wraps up my tabletop review, sort of look and feel review, for lack of a better description, on both of these optics. This is exactly what I expected from Vortex. Quality stuff as always. The precision engraving on these. Everything feels like I'm expecting it to feel. With regards to the Athlon, I am very concerned about, I hope this camera picks it up, about that sound that the optic makes when it gets a little bump. That to me means that the tolerances in there is not what it's meant to be. Then just from a finance sort of view, I've always been of the opinion that you need to buy once and cry once, and that basically means forking out big money up front. Not necessarily big money, I guess that's all relative, but when I do calculations like this, I'm looking at the facts and I'm thinking to myself, if this Athlon's 8,000 Rand in 2018 and I buy this now, and for whatever reason in 2 years I decide, listen, I want to upgrade to sort of the next tier of optic and I want to buy something like this in the 20,000 Rand range, well, that leaves you with two problems. The first problem is that this Athlon's value is not 8,000 Rand anymore. That problem actually has a subset of problems where the second-hand market for an entry-level optic is not as big as the second-hand market for a mid-range optic. I would call this definitely a mid-range optic. So let's say best case scenario, you get to sell your Athlon for 5,000 Rand in 2 years from now. Then you're basically burning 3,000 Rand on the spot. And then obviously because of inflation, the optic you could have bought in 2018 for 20,000 Rand now costs 24,000 Rand in 2020. So all of a sudden you're 7,000 Rand out of pocket over and above what you would have spent initially. And I've sort of applied that school of thought as I've tackled this hobby. But yeah guys, both optics are nice. I guess it's personal preference at the end of the day and what your budget allows. I hope this review has helped some of you. I'm sorry if I come across as a little bit biased towards the Vortex. It's just I've personal experience with the brand. I haven't had much experience with the Athlon, so I'm going to get full disclosure on that regard. I obviously shoot Vortex on all my competition rifles. Probably going to go the Swarovski route on my hunting rifles. I quite like what they're offering. I had some exposure to that yesterday, as you guys would have seen, or it depends when you're watching this, I guess. So from that side, I guess I'm trying to give you my impression, essentially. This is what this is. I'm not saying this one's better than that one. As I mentioned, when I buy a rifle scope, I don't want anything to move in there. This thing I'm quite confident to give a knock or two, and nothing's moving in there, so I know my zero is going to stay the same. I've dropped match rifles that they've landed on top of the turrets on rocks, and I haven't lost my zero on those with running Vortexes. So I believe in the brand from that regard. This was purely what does an 8,000 Rand optic feel like against 20,000 Rand optic, and I think this video should give you a good impression of that. But after I've experienced today, I think my initial impression is I've sort of confirmed what I thought would be the case. And again, as I said up front, you're going to get what you pay for in terms of premium glass and manufacturing quality. As always guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a good week.